Here we presents the top 5 best full-frame cameras. Starting at number 5, Panasonic Lumix D750. Panasonic went big with its first-generation Lumix D750 full-frame mirrorless camera, both in size and price, positioning it around $2,500, toward the high end of the range for a 24MP model. It's targeting a more entry-level market with the Lumix D750, but instead of cutting back on features, the S5 is a bit more capable, offering improved video features and better autofocus. It's a great entry point for full-frame imaging, and a winner of our Editor's Choice Award. We criticize the S1 and S1R for being on the large side, but the S5 gets ergonomics right. A deep hand grip makes it a good fit for lenses large and small, and the camera itself is built tough, with a magnesium frame and an all-weather, dust and splash protected design. You can buy the camera on its own for around $2,000, or spend another $300 for a kit option with the Lumix S20 to 60mm f3. 5.5.6 zoom. If you're just getting started with an L-mount system, the kit lens is a worthwhile addition. Its optics are sound, and it covers a much wider angle of view than other starter zooms, a plus for vlogging, travel, and tight interiors. The S5 is compatible with L-mount lenses, available from Leica, Panasonic, and Sigma, the L-mount alliance, and is bolstered by third parties offering boutique manual focus optics. The main trio has the basics covered, though, from quality starter lenses like the S20 to 60mm, to pro-grade f2. 8 zooms, and bright f1. 2 and f1. 4 prime options. For more information and price, check out the product links in description. At number 4. Canon EOS 6D Mark II. The first time I shot with a first-generation Canon 6D back in 2015, I considered switching from Nikon to Canon. Something about the size, the placement of buttons, the image quality, and just how affordable it was compared to other full-frame cameras, I had a long hard think about switching to the dark side. As a professional wedding photographer who requires instant in-field backups, I feel that by not having an additional card slot, I'm greatly reducing my odds of coming home with safe images. One other area of the Canon 6D Mark II that some have found to complain about is the comparatively narrow spread of the 45 AF points across the screen. If you're coming from a superior DSLR, or just about any mirrorless camera, the narrower focal point spread may admittedly seem a little restrictive, but it's not a deal breaker in my opinion. The focus recompose method may have its haters, but you wouldn't believe the number of pros who use it day in day out, and never miss a beat. As the Stark said, after shooting 10 weddings with this camera, the Canon 6D Mark II is a professional-grade camera disguised as a consumer camera, with a consumer price. Halfway of my listed number 3. Canon EOS 5D Mark IV. If you look at the release dates of the most popular full-frame cameras from Nikon and Canon, it'll paint a picture of why so many Nikon shooters actually jumped ship to Canon. As for shooting in low light with the Canon 5D Mark IV, you can expect to deliver files shot up to ISO 12800 with noticeably less noise than its predecessors, and nice preservation of detail and color. Ergonomics on the Canon 5D Mark IV are excellent, and for those coming from the Mark III, completely intuitive, and with very little change indeed. Battery life isn't quite as impressive as the equivalent Nikons, but this doesn't bother me too much since the live view functionality is just so much better. To conclude, I feel like the release of the Canon 5D Mark IV really restored Canon shooters' faith in the brand. It's not a game-changing camera by any means, but prior to the release of the Nikon D850 a few years later, it was really only the expensive Nikon D5 that could compete head-to-head with it. As my buddy Jay Casario wrote in his Canon 5D Mark IV review back in early 2017, Canon had engineered a camera that has just about everything a portrait or wedding photographer can need, or even want in a single camera. For more information and price, check out the product links in description. Coming in at number 2. Nikon D750. Every now and then a camera manufacturer will release a camera that causes users of completely different brands to jump ship. The Nikon D750 had this effect way back in 2014, and it continues to have it today. If you're a photographer who needs to take advantage of the most leeway when editing your files, the Nikon D750 is the cheapest way to achieve maximum dynamic range from a full-frame sensor. It's actually still one of the best performing sensors for dynamic range too. Another thing I love about my Nikon D750s is the size weight. Compared to other full-frame DSLRs, it feels like a toy. Paired up with a lightweight prime like the Nikon 35mm f1. AGFX, it makes the perfect travel DSLR and counters any argument that mirrorless cameras are more portable than DSLRs. Build quality is a somewhat contentious topic. Nikon marketed the Nikon D750 as a prosumer camera and used parts that probably aren't intended for rigorous, high-volume shooting. I know of a few friends who have experienced shutter jams after a few years with the Nikon D750, but personally, I never did. The performance of the Nikon D750 is often compared to the former flagship Nikon D3s, a camera that for many pros was the ultimate single-digit Nikon. To have this kind of performance in a body the size of an entry-level DSLR at such a low price is very attractive indeed. It blows my mind that in 2021 you can find a full-frame camera that delivers this level of performance for less than the price of some crop sensor cameras. The Nikon D750 truly is a marvel, and despite its age, it still deserves its podium position here in my roundup of the best full-frame cameras of the year. And number 1. Sony A7III. Sony, what did you do to the camera market in 2018? I can't remember a camera release that piqued so much interest as the incredible Sony A7III. Sony has made a name for itself for fast-moving innovation in the mirrorless camera market, and with the Sony A7 III its position has been cemented as a major competitor to Canon and Nikon, set to disrupt DSLR sales worldwide. While the other big camera manufacturers choose to release updated versions of their full-frame camera models every few years, Sony seems to rush out its releases every year, often to the confusion delight of consumers. The inclusion of the Sony A7 III in my best full-frame cameras roundup is actually the reason why I didn't include the Sony A9. Yes, the A9 is a phenomenal full-frame mirrorless camera, but it's also very expensive and has been made largely redundant thanks to the similar AF performance of the Sony A7 III. Although not exclusive to the Sony A7 III, the much publicized IAF is a major draw card of this camera when compared to other brands. If you've ever been frustrated trying to manually track your subject with your camera's joystick or trackpad, IAF will blow your mind. In conclusion, the Sony A7 III doesn't really offer anything more than the other latest Sony releases, but instead it offers a combination of all the best features for an incredibly attractive price. It's almost too good to be true. I have included these product link in the description. You can check out this link for more information and latest price. Thank you for watching this video. Please hit the like button, share with your friends, and be sure to subscribe.